And coming in at number 1, find out how I got thrown in jail. And I remember after I got arrested on live television while reporting in Clinton, Missouri, I had some journalist organizations reach out and ask me to come speak to their group. And I was like, I am in fact not a hero. I didn't know what was going on. I wasn't like trying to like stick it to the man or anything. I just was doing my job. And I was trying to do that well, by the way, and feel like I was doing it fairly well. But do you remember that? And then like all
Do I
these
remember that?
journalistic well, I mean, do you remember the organizations afterward reaching out
Yeah.
and asking me to come speak on, like journalistic integrity, freedom, privilege in this country? And I'm like, listen, I believe in journalism. The Constitution believes in journalism, right? We have to have a free press. We are designed to be watchdogs, checks and balances. I'm in, but I also don't know that I'm your poster child because I wasn't like fighting with a cop on purpose until I was. And then down I went. Cuffed and stuffed right there, man.
Have we told this story on the podcast? Do people know what you're talking about?
I don't know. I got arrested in 2007 on the square in Clinton, Missouri, while reporting on a building that collapsed, and there was a meeting. So there were people inside when that building collapsed. And I was placed in an area by local police when I got to the scene at like 2:00 in the morning. And then fast forward till about noon. And I'd been there all morning long doing live shots every 5 minutes for stations all over, not just for KY3, but I was like live in St. Louis and Kansas City because we were the first on scene. And we were standing where local police placed us. But then the Highway Patrol took over the command. So then the Highway Patrol wanted us to move, but they told us that at 11:59:50. So a.m. leading up to that noon hour. So as the Highway Patrol trooper was telling me to move, my producer back at the station was in my earpiece, not knowing what was going on, saying that you are live in 10, 9, 8, 7. So I'm hearing the countdown in my ear. And in this ear, I'm hearing the police officer tell me to move. And so I'm trying to explain to him, if you'll give me just a second, like literally, if you'll give me 60 seconds, I will move. But it's like I didn't have time to explain to the producer what was happening and ask for permission from the trooper. So he was not messing around. He cuffed and stuffed me. And I went to jail. And Ethan was like, what is going on? Like, because Ethan happened to be out there too. Anyway, it was a riot. But afterward, it was just funny because so many journalistic organizations were calling me. And while I take journalism very seriously, it was just interesting because here I was the poster child for something that I never intended to be the poster child for. That's all.
Yeah. I mean, it was a rogue cop. It was completely absurd to literally, I'm standing there because we're engaged at this point. So I'm standing there. I'm going to take over for the evening and her shift and take over the story for the rest of the night and anchor there from 5 and 9 and 10 and 5 and 6. So I'm watching them, and as soon as she finishes her live shot, they put her arms behind her back. It was completely absurd. And her photographer put his arms behind his back, and they grab him by the arm and they start walking him away. Meanwhile, this is what made absolutely no sense. Is journalists aren't allowed in that area, right? Well, I was standing there. My photographer was standing literally right next to them. The newspaper reporter in Clinton was standing right there, and
it was the Kansas City Star. It was a reporter from the Kansas City Star.
Was it?
Is the reason? Yeah, because he took all these still pictures to show where he was in relation to where we were. And I think that they were arresting us because our camera was more obtrusive than the still camera because, television cameras are this big and still cameras are tiny. Anyway, and so the Kansas City Star reporter is the one who kind of like saved the day in the end because we were able to use his photos to show that we were singled out. Because there were other journalists, like you said, who were not arrested, but we were just my photographer and I. So
Yeah, I was in the exact same spot this
And
other
me, I
reporter
should
was.
say,
So
for you
I ended up
grammar
calling that
terms.
reporter in Kansas City and got pictures that we used at our wedding of you being arrested. So those went over very well.